Good afternoon, Conservabrarian here. This video is not necessarily political. It involves sports. And being a conservative and the whole kneeling the national anthem thing, I'm kind of torn on it. Yes, I'm Matt Stafford, who I'm a Detroit Lions fan, knelt for the national anthem. Okay. I'll watch the games. I'm not going to sit there and say I'm never going to watch a football game. I love football. I don't like what's going on, but I'm not going to sit there and go to an NFL game. I don't know when we're going to have NFL football, but it's very expensive to go anyway. So I don't think I'll ever go to an NFL game and spend money. Yes, watching a game, you are spending money. You're paying for the right to watch a football game on television. So you're paying the cable companies, which are paying the networks. It all filters down. So I'm just going to pick my battles. But I saw this story, and the reason why is here's a picture of Mike Tomlin of the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are now 11-0 for the first time ever. They have the most wins to start a season in their history. Mike Tomlin has been around since the end of the Bill Cowher era, which was in 2006. Yeah, so in 2006 he took over. He's been there ever since, and he's won a Super Bowl in 2008. And he's had his time on the hot seat, but now his team's rolling at 11-0. And the reason why I show him, because I saw this ESPN article by Ivan Meisel, who is a decent writer for ESPN, and he's a good analyst when it comes to sports, and he writes very well. And so at Vanderbilt University, Derek Mason, the former NFL player, was fired by Vanderbilt. Started 0-8. 27-55 record overall. He was only in 2 bowl games, and he'd been there since the departure of James Franklin, who in 2014 left Vanderbilt to become the head coach at my alma mater at Penn State. And he had his time, and he didn't win, and he was fired. So Ivan Meisel writes this ridiculous, here we go again. Here's the diversity thing. The lack of black college football coaches is still glaring, and so are the excuses behind it. Okay, so he goes into talking about diversity. Okay, that there's a problem of the NCAA coaches hiring black coaches, and he goes into race and diversity. And David Shaw, the head coach at Stanford, I don't think there's an answer. Well, there is no answer because this thing is ridiculous to begin with. And then he contradicts himself. There isn't sufficient pressure being applied on universities to compel them to hire black coaches. First off, there's no evidence. There's no evidence at all on the reason why black coaches aren't hired. There's no evidence of racism at all. There's no evidence that says that points to anything with racism, period. That, candidate A, who was black, didn't get hired because they didn't like the color of his skin. It's complete nonsense. And here's where he contradicts himself. To be fair, it shouldn't be necessary for minorities to be in hiring positions to hire minorities. Okay, so that's the goal. Is we're just going to hire you because you're black. Okay, right? Because it's stupid. Nobody hires that way, unless you're a complete bigot. When there's no evidence that's true. Okay. So he's right. So then why complain? Why are you complaining about diversity when you just said, well, it should be fair that the schools don't hire because they're black? Okay? That, again, why anyone's hired, they have to be comfortable with the coach. They're trusting to run the financial engine of their 8 or 9 figure athletic department. Okay? Candidates have to be good. They have to know how to coach. They have to know football. And they have to have a proven track record. It's just why anyone's hired. I'm a school educator. You're not going to hire me if I don't have a school without a teaching degree, and it's going to be tougher for me if I don't have enough experience. Some schools will hire you if you're right out of college, but if I have the experience and the track record, and I have the backing of my superiors, I'm going to get a job. Okay, that's how meritocracy works. The best person for the job gets the job. But Ivan Meisel, for some reason, is trying to dive into why schools aren't hiring blacks, all because Derek Mason gets fired. There are 14 black head coaches. Oops, I mean 13. Derek Mason got fired. Okay, so what are you trying to say? Where's the evidence? There's no expectation of much changing. This is just a weak story. This is not a non-story at all. And then they pull Alabama. Alabama Greg Byrne believes the diversity of the fan base at Bryant-Denny Stadium is increasing. They picked Alabama because they're the rubes. They're the Southern rubes that hate black people, right? It's not said, but you know where that's going, right? Yeah, I mean, and I point to Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin has a job and has had one since 2006, 14 years, because he wins. He wins, and he's won a Super Bowl. If Mike Tomlin in 2006 had 4 straight losing seasons, he'd have been fired immediately after the 4th season, maybe sooner. So, for example, Jim Caldwell had a great track record in Detroit. It wasn't awesome, but he got to the playoffs, right? He had 9-7 record, and they fired him. Now, did they fire him because he was black? No, they just fired him because they felt they had to make a change. So this nonsense, ESPN, they don't learn their lesson. And shame on Ivan Mizell, who's been around, and he's a good writer, but he is now part of that long history. Now he's the blue check marks on Twitter to woke signal. I don't know what this is about. This is a non-story. Derek Mason just didn't win. So here's the message for NCAA teams. If you want to worry about diversity, and if you're really that woke, just then hire a black candidate. Don't sit there and Ivan Mizell says, to be fair, it shouldn't be necessary for minorities. Okay, which is it? Is it not fair or is it fair? If it's fair to hire based on skin color, then do it. If it's not fair, then use common sense and hire based on meritocracy. Okay? David Shaw has built a program at Stanford. He's there because he wins. Okay? It's all about winning. It has nothing to do with skin color. And for Ivan Mizell to sit there and write a story and get paid for this, put it on ESPN with no evidence, no backing, no thought, no critical analysis. He just talks about, and the excuses behind it. All right. Done with that. All right. Please like my channel and send me some comments and have a great day. Take care.